The pines will sing. Miles from the nearest town, tucked between jagged hills and ancient pine forests, there sat a crooked little house at the end of a gravel road. It was a place left out of maps and forgotten by time, choked by ivy, tilting slightly to one side as if trying to whisper something to the forest that surrounded it. The locals never talked about it, because the locals had stopped talking at all. Evan moved into that house on a dare. Not from a friend, but from life itself. The city had drained him, dead-end job, failed relationships, the familiar itch of dread every Monday morning. So when he inherited the property from a great uncle he'd never met, he packed a duffel bag, deleted his social media, and left without telling anyone. He arrived in early November. The pines were black against the slate-gray sky, tall and too tightly packed. He noticed immediately that the house had no electricity. The generator in the back worked, sort of, but would cough and groan every time it kicked in, like something in it didn't want to wake up. The inside was worse than expected. Dust coated everything. Furniture sat where it had been for decades, untouched, still arranged around a massive brick fireplace that dominated the main room. A photo on the mantel showed a family, maybe from the 1920s, standing in front of the house. Their eyes had been carefully scratched out. He felt watched from the moment he stepped inside. But Evan didn't believe in that kind of thing. He believed in unplugging, detoxing, being alone to reconnect with yourself. So he lit a fire, boiled water on the stove, and slept on the old sofa under 3 blankets. The first night, he heard it. It began with a whistle. Soft. Low. Like wind catching the rim of a bottle. It came from outside, from the forest. It rose and fell in a pattern, 5 long notes, then silence. He figured it was an animal. Maybe the wind. But it happened again the next night. Same pattern. Same time, just after midnight. On the 3rd night, the whistle changed. 5 notes again, but this time, closer. He thought he saw movement between the trees. A tall shape. No flashlight. No rustling. Just a long, standing silhouette. Then the generator died. The lights went out. The fire had burned low. He couldn't see beyond the living room. The window behind him groaned in its frame. Then he heard the front porch creak. 1 step. Then another. He didn't move. Couldn't move. His legs wouldn't respond. He gripped the blanket and held his breath. The whistle started again. But this time, it came from inside the house. He lit a match. The flame hissed and shook in the cold air. No one was there. The front door was still locked. He checked every window. Sealed. Nothing had broken in. He told himself it was a dream. Or maybe a hallucination from stress and isolation. But from that night on, the whistling never stopped. Every night, 5 notes. Then footsteps. Then silence. Sometimes, in the dark between the sound and the silence, Evan would see something in the trees. Something tall. Not walking, gliding. Always standing perfectly between the trunks, as if the forest grew around it, hiding it from light. The 4th night, he heard it mimic his voice. From the woods. Somewhere just beyond the porch. A weak, pitiful cry. Help. Please, help me. He stepped outside. The cold hit him like a wave. Who's out there? He called. No response. Then, 5 notes, louder than ever. He backed inside. Locked the door. Later, he played a recording of the whistle into an app that identified birdsong. No match. No animal. He posted it anonymously on a forum. One reply came in a few minutes later. Where did you hear this? Do not respond. Do not listen to it again. Burn your clothes and leave the area. He laughed it off. Internet weirdos. The next night, the fireplace was cold when he woke up, though he remembered falling asleep with it roaring. Footprints, large and wet, marked the floor from the front door to the back of the house. The door was still locked. In the hallway, carved into the paint, were 5 vertical scratches. Like claws. Or long fingers. Evan started drinking heavily by the 7th day. He wasn't sure what time it was anymore. His phone had died, the generator was getting worse, and the clock on the wall always reset to 12 o'clock. He found a diary in the attic, buried under a chest of molding clothes. It was handwritten, yellowed, and the entries were frantic, spiraling into gibberish. The pines are not trees. They are watchers. They feed on sound. It wears your voice. It borrows your face. Don't whistle back. He dropped the journal. The house moaned. The walls were changing. The photos were rearranging themselves when he wasn't looking. In one, he saw himself, standing in the forest, only it wasn't from any day he remembered. He was standing still, and something black loomed behind him in the branches. One night, he tried to leave. Packed his bag, started the truck. But the road was gone. Not blocked. Not flooded. Just gone. The gravel had been swallowed by the forest. Pines now stood where the road had been. Thick and endless. He turned around. The house looked smaller from outside. And, it was humming. A soft, distant hum. Musical. 5 notes. The whistling had become singing. Voices, low, slow, layered in dozens of tones, rising from the woods. They sang in a language he couldn't understand, but it made his skin crawl. His ears rang with it. He vomited. The next morning, the generator was gone. Just, not there anymore. No pieces. No burn marks. As if it had never existed. Evan stopped writing. He stopped eating. The water turned black one day, just briefly, and he saw something crawl across the ceiling while he showered. When he finally went to smash the fireplace, convinced it was the source of the sound, he found a small object buried in the ashes. A jawbone. Human. Too small to be an adult. Wrapped around it was a silver necklace. He remembered now. A name from the photo on the mantel. Grace. His great-uncle's daughter. She had vanished in 1936. No one had found the body. She was 6. The same age the voice now cried with, every night. The same voice that whispered his name outside his bedroom door. Evan. Evan, it's so cold, come outside. His last night in the house, Evan finally gave in. He walked out barefoot, shirtless, eyes hollow. The forest sang. The pines shifted. And something stepped from between the trees. A shape. Pale and glistening. No face. No eyes. Just smooth skin and a mouth full of human teeth that went all the way around its head. It didn't speak. It whistled. 5 long notes. And Evan opened his mouth, and whistled back. They say it takes you once you sing with it. Not your body. That stays. But your voice, your soul, your face, those are borrowed. Until the next one arrives. Weeks later, a group of hikers stumbled onto the house. No one answered the door. They found no footprints, no power, no vehicles. Inside, the fireplace was lit. And someone had carved a message into the wall, over and over, in deep gouges that peeled the wood back like skin. The pines will sing. Don't whistle back. The pines will sing. Don't whistle back. In the corner of the room, half buried beneath a pile of ash and bones, they found an old photo. It showed the house. And in the forest behind it, nearly hidden in the shadows, a pale shape stood between 2 trees. Grinning. teeth shining. And eyes, Evan's eyes. Still watching. Welcome to Ashford. The first thing Natalie noticed about Ashford was how quiet it was. Not the peaceful kind of quiet you get in the countryside, this was pressurized, like the whole town was holding its breath. She arrived just after 6 p.m., her GPS cutting out as she turned onto Ashford Hollow Road. A single wooden sign, rotting and covered in moss, welcomed her. Ashford, EST 1813. The soil remembers. She laughed when she read it. She wouldn't laugh again. The town was nestled deep in the woods of northern Vermont, far off any major highway. Natalie had taken the freelance job out of desperation. She was a true crime podcaster, struggling to stay relevant in an ocean of louder, more sensational voices. So when a fan anonymously messaged her with a tip about a town that eats its dead, she knew she had to check it out. It sounded stupid. Urban legend. But the wording of the message stuck with her. They bury them wrong in Ashford. And they come back. She checked into the only motel in town, the Hollow Inn, a one-story building with mildewed shingles and a flickering neon vacancy sign that buzzed louder than the crickets. The clerk at the front desk was a woman in her 60s, with thin gray hair and eyes that didn't blink enough. "You're not local," the woman said flatly, sliding a key across the counter. "No. Just passing through." The woman didn't smile. "You'll want to be indoors by dark." Natalie chuckled awkwardly. "Why's that?" "There are things that belong to the night here." She waited for the woman to laugh. She didn't. Her room was musty and stank of mothballs. But she was too tired to care. She jotted down notes, recorded a quick voice memo for the next podcast episode, and collapsed into the creaky bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., she woke to a sound. A low, rhythmic drumming. Soft. Hollow. Like distant pounding on earth. It came from underground. The next morning, Natalie went into town to investigate. Ashford looked like a Norman Rockwell painting left in the sun too long. Quaint little houses. Red barns. A town square with a gazebo and a white church. Everyone she passed smiled, but none of the smiles reached their eyes. They were all looking at her. Not staring, exactly. Just watching. She stopped in at the Ashford Historical Society. A man named Mr. Giles greeted her, mid-70s, rosy-cheeked, with a voice like sandpaper. "Welcome to our little town. Not many visitors these days." "I'm interested in Ashford's history," Natalie said. "Old settlements, traditions, anything strange or unique." Giles's eyes flicked to the grandfather clock behind her. "Our traditions are private. Sacred." She nodded, pretending to understand. Then he leaned closer. "But if you're looking for stories, visit the cemetery. The soil speaks, if you listen long enough." Ashford Cemetery sat behind the church, hidden by tall pine hedges. The gravestones were old, some dating back to the early 1800s. Many had strange carvings, circles within circles, spirals, crude stick figures with no faces. Others had names scratched out. She noticed something odd, most of the graves were shallow. Just a foot or two of earth mounded over. Some had fresh soil, but no names. That night, she walked the cemetery with her mic and recorder. And she heard scratching. From beneath the graves. The next day, the town had changed. Not physically. But in the atmosphere. People no longer smiled. No one spoke to her. At the diner, her food was served without a word. When she asked for directions, she was ignored. Something was coming. She felt it. She returned to the cemetery at dusk and found something new. A fresh grave. Unmarked. And beside it, a small wooden box, left on the ground. She opened it. Inside were teeth. Baby teeth. Human. A dozen or more. All cleaned and arranged in a perfect circle. She dropped the box and ran. Back at the motel, her room had been cleaned. But she never asked for housekeeping. And on the pillow was a doll, handmade, stuffed with pine needles, with black button eyes and her name stitched across its chest in red thread. She grabbed her gear and drove toward the highway. But the road was gone. Just trees. No GPS. No signal. No way out. She went to the church. Inside, the pews were filled. Dozens of townsfolk sat in silence, heads bowed. At the pulpit stood Mr. Giles. He looked up as she entered. Smiled. "We were waiting for you." Natalie turned to run. The doors shut on their own. She screamed. They began to chant. Not English. A guttural, primal language. Voices overlapping, layered like hundreds of mouths speaking from underground. She collapsed to her knees, hands over her ears. The floor opened beneath her. And she fell. She awoke underground. Earth all around her. A narrow tunnel. Her body pressed between damp roots. Something breathing beside her. Not human. Its breath was hot. Wet. Too many lungs. She crawled. Screamed. Eventually, light. She emerged in the woods. No idea how long she'd been down there. The town was still. Silent. She returned to the motel. The key didn't work. The room was empty. Sterile. As if no one had stayed there in years. At the front desk, the old woman looked up. Blinked slowly. "You're not her," she said. Natalie's voice shook. "What?" The woman leaned in. "You look like her. But you're not her. The soil knows the difference." That night, Natalie found the altar. Deep in the woods, beyond a ring of pines older than the town itself. A circle of stones. In the center, a pit, and a figure tied to a stake. It was her. Same face. Same hair. Same jacket. Eyes open. Mouth sewn shut. Still breathing. The townsfolk emerged from the trees, surrounding the circle. Mr. Giles held a sickle. "You asked for the story," he said. "You are the story now." She ran. She doesn't remember how she escaped. Just fragments, fire. Blood. Screams. The taste of soil. Natalie was found wandering a highway 3 weeks later. Clothes torn. Eyes bloodshot. Clutching a recorder. It only had one file. Static. Then a whisper. "We bury them wrong in Ashford. And they come back." She never spoke again. Her podcast was deleted. Her laptop melted in a fire that no one investigated. Ashford is still there. You won't find it on any map. The roads won't take you unless it wants them to. But if you hear 5 knocks on your door just after midnight, don't answer. The soil might be calling you home. The house across the field. You know how certain memories feel wrong. Like they don't belong to you, but they're yours anyway. That's how I feel about the house across the field. We moved into the farmhouse in late spring. My wife, Claire, had inherited it from her grandfather. It was 100 years old, creaky, all bones and splinters, with a wraparound porch and a screen door that slammed when you breathed too hard. Her grandfather's death was sudden, and neither of us had the stomach to sell the place just yet. So we took a leave from our jobs, packed our dog, and headed out to get a fresh start. The house sat in the middle of nowhere, just us, an empty gravel road, and a vast, open wheat field that stretched toward the horizon. And just past that field, maybe a mile away, was another house. I only saw it once. And then Claire told me it wasn't real. The first day was uneventful. Dust. Sunlight through the cracked windows. Faint smells of old books and burned coffee. The farmhouse was cleaner than we expected. Most of Claire's grandfather's things had been cleared out, save for an old writing desk, a few photo albums, and a rocking chair that never seemed to stay where you left it. I stood on the back porch that evening, watching the wind ripple through the wheat, a golden ocean. And then I saw it. A two-story house. Just past the edge of the field. Gray siding. Tall chimney. A porch light flickering like it hadn't been changed in decades. Something about it made my stomach knot. It was too still. But when I called Claire out to see it, she frowned. "There's nothing out there." I pointed. "The house. Look, it's right." "There's nothing there," she said again. Not even annoyed. Just blank. Like I'd said nothing at all. Our dog, Murphy, stared in the same direction. Tail between his legs. Whining. That night, I couldn't sleep. The field made noise. Not crickets, not wind, just a strange rustling, as if something were moving between the stalks. No rhythm. No logic. Just shivers of motion. And then came the tapping. Soft. Delicate. From the window above our bed. We were on the second floor. I crept toward it, trying not to wake Claire. I pulled back the curtain. Nothing. Just darkness. And wheat. But when I looked down at the window frame, I saw it, 5 faint prints in the dust. Not handprints. Fingertips. Over the next few days, the feeling got worse. I kept seeing the house across the field, but only in the corner of my eye. It never moved, but it felt like it wanted to. Like it was leaning closer every time I turned my back. Claire remained oblivious. Or in denial. I started drawing it, sketches, over and over. Every time, it came out the same, tall, narrow, with 12 windows and a door that seemed too small. One window always glowed orange. In the local library, I asked about it. The librarian, an old man with clouded eyes, paused when I described the structure. He closed the book he'd been reading. "There's no house past that field," he said. "I saw it. You saw what it wants you to see." Then came the dreams. I would wake up in a hallway, long and narrow, walls dripping like oil, floorboards screaming under my bare feet. At the end of the hallway was a door. Always locked. But something on the other side would whisper my name. And sometimes, my own voice would answer. One evening, I found Murphy barking like mad at the edge of the field. Tail rigid. Teeth bared. I ran out, calling his name. He wouldn't move. Just stood, snarling at the wheat. I knelt beside him. And that's when I heard it. A voice. From the field. High-pitched. Female. Familiar. "Help me." I froze. The wheat swayed. But there was no wind. The voice came again. From all directions. "Help me. I'm stuck." Murphy backed away, whimpering now. I didn't move. And then, just for a moment, I saw a hand emerge from the wheat. Small. Pale. Fingers trembling. I ran. When I told Claire, she didn't react the way I hoped. She didn't argue. Didn't accuse me of losing it. She just said, "You need to stop looking at the field." And then she walked away. That night, I couldn't help myself. I stepped outside. And the house across the field was closer. It had moved. Just slightly. Maybe 50 feet closer to our fence line. I don't remember running back inside. But I remember locking every door. Every window. And I remember waking up to see the rocking chair in our room, rocking. Slowly. Back and forth. Back and forth. Then Claire disappeared. I woke up. She wasn't in bed. Not in the bathroom. Not downstairs. Her car was still outside. Her phone sat on the table, screen cracked. And on the back porch, the screen door flapped in the wind, open. Our dog sat beside it, tail tucked, ears flat. Staring into the field. I walked out. Barefoot. Trembling. And there it was. The house. Now only a few hundred feet away. And on its porch, swaying side to side, was a figure. Claire. Or someone wearing her skin. She stood perfectly still on the porch of the house that shouldn't exist. Her posture was Claire's, her clothes were Claire's, even her mannerisms, head tilted slightly to the right when curious, were right. But her face wasn't finished. No mouth. No eyes. Just smooth skin. Featureless and trembling slightly, as if something underneath was trying to push through. I ran. I don't remember making it to the house. I only remember locking myself inside and collapsing onto the floor, gasping like I'd outrun a fire. Murphy lay on the kitchen tiles, growling softly. When I touched him, he flinched like he didn't recognize me. By morning, she was back. Claire. Sitting on the edge of the bed. Her face, intact. Smile tired but warm. Hair tangled like she'd just woken up. Bad dreams again, she asked. I stared at her. She didn't remember the field. Or the night. Or the voice. Or maybe she did. And just wasn't allowed to talk about it. I began hearing the voice in the walls. A scraping, slithering sound between the beams. Whispering. Always whispering. Come see. Come remember. Murphy barked at nothing. He stopped eating. Just stood facing corners. Whimpering. One afternoon, I checked the attic. I'd never been up there before. A narrow stairwell led to a trapdoor that took more strength than expected to open. The attic was empty except for dust. And a mirror. The mirror stood in the center, taller than me. Its frame was cracked wood, rotting. But the glass was perfect. I stepped closer. In the reflection, I saw the house across the field. But when I turned around, it wasn't there. Only wheat. In the mirror, it loomed large, looming, closer than ever. And there, standing in the upstairs window of the phantom house, was Claire. The Claire I'd seen on the porch. Still faceless. Still swaying. I started waking up in places I didn't remember falling asleep. Once, I came to in the field, barefoot, shirtless, my arms scratched like I'd been crawling. Another time, I found myself sitting in the attic, facing the mirror, whispering to it. I remember. I remember. Let me back in. The worst part. I didn't know what I meant. Then things shifted. I found newspaper clippings under the floorboards. Old, yellowed, brittle. 3 missing near Fairhope County, family vanishes without trace. Locals say abandoned house appears after storms. Witness claims shadow house changes location daily. The photos were unclear. Grainy. But I recognized the porch. The roof. The orange-lit window. And in every article, there was one repeating phrase. The field wants you to remember. One night, the house appeared again, just outside the fence. Closer than ever. And its door was open. Not ajar. Not cracked. Open. Claire was gone again. I couldn't not go. The wheat parted for me. I didn't walk. I floated. That's the only way I can describe it. The house loomed impossibly tall now. Larger than its footprint. Breathing. Yes, breathing. The walls moved subtly, in and out, like a lung. I stepped inside. And it was my house. The same furniture. The same photos. But wrong. Everything slightly decayed, water damaged. The colors too dark, shadows too deep. And there was another version of me, sitting at the kitchen table, staring out the window. He looked up. And smiled. Blood leaked from the corners of his mouth. "Welcome back," he said. The walls pulsed around me. I ran upstairs. In the bedroom, Claire lay in bed. Eyes open. Frozen. She turned to me, but her mouth moved wrong. Like it had too many joints. Her voice layered. "Don't remember. If you remember, it keeps you." "What is this?" I whispered. She sat up, arms twitching. "You opened it. You remembered the house. And now it remembers you." I backed away. The hallway stretched. Walls turned black. The floor beneath me vanished. And I fell. I woke up on the porch of our house. The real one. Or, maybe just the next copy. Murphy was beside me, panting, bleeding from the ears. Claire was inside, cooking. Smiling. Singing. Like nothing had happened. But I know now. There's no getting out. The house across the field was never a place. It's a pattern. A loop. A memory so old it's become a place, a thing, a god. It feeds on attention. On recognition. You see it, and it sees you. You remember it, and it burrows into your life like a tick. Each time I resist, the world glitches. Rewrites itself. Sometimes Claire's face changes for hours. Sometimes Murphy speaks in my voice. Sometimes the walls bleed words I haven't written yet. But the worst part is the mirror. Because sometimes, when I look in it, the reflection isn't me. It's the other one. Still smiling. Still waiting. I leave this recording buried in the barn. Maybe someone will find it. Maybe no one will. But if you ever see a house across the field, a house that shouldn't be there, don't draw it. Don't describe it. Don't speak of it. And never go inside. Because the moment you recognize it, it's already too late.